Damn.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Political Jargon Show. I'm your host, Eddie Quintana. We've got a lot of news to get to today, and we should probably just go ahead and just get straight into it today. New background, I'm in a new place today. So, this is the Political Jargon Show for May 10th, 2018. Hope everyone having a great day today. There's a lot of news to get into. We've got the Iran deal discussion that is going to be taking up a lot of the news cycle for a while now. And then we've also got Middle East developments in Israel. We've got Mitch McConnell did something that just recently. We've got a bunch of other things to talk about, which will be very interesting. And we should go ahead and start with the Iran deal. So the Iran deal got dismantled by the Trump administration 2 days ago, the 8th, I believe. And it's not looking good because here's the thing. If we just take a step back, just real quick, if we just take a step back and just look at the events and how they unfolded, we've got the Trump administration and the MAGAs and the Trump people all saying we should get out of the Iran deal. And so Trump gets out of the Iran deal, and then Iran threatens to start building weapons again, and all the bootlicking assholes of Donald Trump and Trump himself go, how dare they start building weapons again? I don't understand. Like, we don't want them to build weapons, and they will be met with retaliation and very severe consequences if they start building. We can't fathom the idea of why they started building weapons again. You pulled out of a deal that delayed their ability to build weapons, and then you act surprised when they say, after you pulled out of the deal, we're going to start building weapons again, and then you become even more hawkish on on your response to Iran maybe building up weapons. Thankfully, we've got our European allies saying we'll stay in the deal and we'll talk to Iran. We don't need the United States to stay into this. But so let's go ahead and just dissect the Iranian nuclear deal, the joint comprehensive plan of action, because I think it's needed that we understand the basis for which we are having this discussion, because there's a lot of things that Trump says that, like, is correct, but then he just leaves it and stops, and he doesn't fulfill the thought. And if you fulfill the thought, the point he's trying to get across is just wrong. Like, so what, and I'm quoting from BBC here, what the Iran nuclear deal, here's what it can do. So, uranium enrichment. When the deal came out, when the news broke in 2015, mid 2015, that there was a deal being met, we had met an outline of a plan, of a idea, of a thought, of a plan, of an outline of a deal. Because when it first came out, it was just that. It was a thought. It was an outline. It wasn't necessarily a deal. It was just, here's a plan that we have. Here's an outline of a deal that we have. And so I tried to read the deal. The deal is available online. You can find it. Iran nuclear deal PDF. You can find the deal online. Here is the deal. I mean, this isn't the deal I read, but I mean, it's roughly about the deal. So, I tried to read the deal, and I was 16. I could barely get past like the first 10 pages. But on the deal that I read, it said the JPA reaffirming that under no circumstances will Iran ever seek or develop any nuclear weapons. In addition, Iran was able to provide the IAEA with other information, such as plans for nuclear facilities, even though Iran was already required to provide some of this information by Code 3.1 of Iran's subsidiary agreement to its IAEA safeguard agreement. Iran will also provide IAEA inspectors with managed access to its centrifuge assembly workshops, centrifuge rotor production workshops, centrifuge storage facilities, and uranium mines and mills. So, on the actual deal, because this looks to be like a summary of it, here's the actual deal. Literally on page 3, it says, Iran affirms that under no circumstances will Iran ever seek, develop, or acquire any nuclear weapons. And that was the deal they agreed to. So, now, the right-wing answer to that is, well, Iran's obviously lying. What was the quote Mike Pompeo said? He basically was saying, it was basically like, we can't see that they're lying, but we know they are, or something like that. And if that's the case, then like I know Mike Pompeo has sex with men. I can't see that he's had sex with men, but I know he's doing it. Like Mike Pompeo has killed 14 people in his life. I haven't seen that he's done it, but I know he is. Like, that is such faulty logic. Like, I know Donald Trump colluded with the Russians. There's very little evidence of it, but I know he's done it. Like, Michael Cohen, I know he has... Well, that example doesn't work, because Michael Cohen actually did pay to play, and that's been proven. But you get my point. Mike Pompeo has had sex with 72 different men. And out of the 72, he has sucked 70 of them off and has gotten a mad facial. I can't see it, but I know it happens. Like, it's such wrong logic, right? So the BBC explained. So literally on page 3 of the deal, it says this, and they agreed to it. They agreed to this, right? So Iran had 2 facilities, Natanz and Fordo, where uranium hexafluoride gas was fed into centrifuges to separate out most of the fissile isotope U-235. Low enriched uranium, which has a 3 to 4 concentration of U-235, can be used to produce fuel or nuclear power plants. Weapon-grade uranium is 90% enriched. In July 2015, Iran almost had 20,000 centrifuges. Under the JPAC, it was limited to installing no more than 5,060 of the oldest and least efficient centrifuges at Natanz until 2026, 15 years after the deal's implementation day in January 2016. So they reduced the number of centrifuges, right? Iran's uranium stockpile was reduced by 98% to 660 pounds, a figure that must not exceed until 2031. It must also keep the stockpile level of enrichment at 3.67%. They can't enrich uranium by 3.67%. By January 2016, Iran had drastically reduced the number of centrifuges installed at Natanz and Fordo and shipped tons of low-enriched uranium to Russia. In addition, research and development must take place only at Natanz and be limited until 2024. No enrichment will be permitted at Fordo until 2031, and the underground facility will be converted into a nuclear physics and technology center. The 1,044 centrifuges at the site will produce radioisotopes for the use in medicine, agriculture, industry, and science. Now, that's been proven because the IAEA has been in 10 separate times and said Iran is complying with the deal on 10 separate visits and checks. Now, the response to that by idiotic right-wingers is, well, they just obviously hit it all 10 times. You can't hide U-235 or hexafluoride gas, uranium. You can't hide that because it has a half-life of like 670 billion years or 670 million years. 24 days. That's one of the things Trump said. Iran will be subjected to random checks, but they can delay. They can delay and self-inspect. What kind of fucking deal is that? Well, they can delay up to 24 hours to self-inspect, but they have 24 days, and after 24 days, the IAEA can come in, no questions asked. So if you're going to sit there and bullshit your way through this by saying they're going to hide uranium, which has a half-life of like 700 billion years, and they're going to hide all of it in 24 days, you're absurd. Because the only other answer to that is Iran obviously paid off the IAEA to lie to the international community. And again, that doesn't make any sense. Iran influenced the IAEA, the UN-sanctioned international nuclear energy watchdog. Even though your own arguments about why Trump ended the deal and if Iran does start building up weapons, we'd be able to decimate them because their economy is weak. If their economy is weak, how would they be able to influence the IAEA with the backing of the UN, which Iran isn't even a part of, but the United States, France, Germany, Russia, China, all back this deal and are all backing the IAEA, and their economies are way better than Iran. So where is this information coming from? It's half-thoughts and purposeful misinformation and lies and deceit because they just hate Iran. Right-wingers just hate Iran. People like Mike Pompeo and John Bolton just want to bomb Iran up. That's all they want to do. There is no, you can't... I don't understand... Well, they don't have a... They don't have a peaceful bone in their body. None of them do, right? None of them have a peaceful bone in their body. This video shows that John Bolton plans to be celebrating the regime change overthrow of the government in Tehran by 2019. And this was in 2017. This was a speech he gave in 2017 before he was the national security advisor. Not only that, but he was in the Bush administration pushing for war with Iran. He pushed for war with Iraq, Syria, Pakistan, Libya, Somalia, Iran. Did I say Syria? I don't know. Syria. Here's what he had to say.
Of the Ayatollah opposition. There is a viable opposition to the rule of the Ayatollahs, and that opposition is centered in this room today. I have said for over 10 years since coming to these events that the declared policy of the United States of America should be the overthrow of the mullahs regime in Tehran. The behavior and the objectives of the regime are not going to change, and therefore the only solution is to change the regime itself. And that's why before 2019, we here will celebrate in Tehran. Thank you very much.
So his declared policy position is the United States will spend money to overthrow the mullahs in Iran. And we will be celebrating in Tehran before 2019. He is a warmonger. He is a hawk. He doesn't know peace. The deal might not have been a good deal, but it was a foundation for which we can continue. And the idea that there is no such thing as discussing this with with enemies, what's the point of having diplomacy then? You don't have treaties and foreign policy deals with your allies because you've already done it. What's the point of having diplomacy? It's not about having diplomacy. It's about always being on the warpath and always blowing shit up. That's all it's about. There is no room for peace with these people. On their side, there's no room for peace. But on the side that I'm on and all the people I listen to, there's a peace available and a side available for war. Just because someone looked at us funny and we don't want to go to war with them doesn't make us weak or dovish or whatever you want to throw at these people. There is no peace, there is no place for diplomacy with people like John Bolton and Mike Pompeo. There is a side for war with me and what I believe. But if you can't make room for peace, what's the point? What's the point? And again, the Trump administration, just like its role in Syria, is saying two things at once and thinking that everyone's too stupid to realize. The Secretary of Defense said that the Iran deal was fine after he looked over it and all the information he got. It said it was working fine. It's a good foundation. There's no reason to get out of it. And then he's in the Trump administration. He was appointed by Trump. And then Trump himself saying it's a bad deal. It's a horrible deal. It's the worst deal ever. It's unbelievable. Believe me, it's the worst. Okay? Which one is it? It's like the Trump administration on Syria. We have plans to pull out of Syria, and we will start doing that now. The same day, generals in Trump administration said we have an indefinite plan to stay in Syria indefinitely, meaning we're never leaving. We have no exit strategy. We just go in and we stay there and we occupy because we've got no other shit to do except healthcare and education and infrastructure. But you spend money on that, you're a communist. So where are we as a country? And nobody on the right is going to like me say that because I'm dogging on America, but it's true. Where are we as a country? I feel like blowing people up in the middle, living in caves in the middle of the desert is more important than making sure John doesn't die because his family goes bankrupt because of a health condition. And if you believe the opposite, you're obviously a pinko commie bastard who should die. It's nothing but extremes. How about we cut the military budget and maybe instead of spending more than the next 12 countries, we spend more than the next 7 countries. And instead of having 800 military bases around the world, we have 500 military bases around the world. And that money we make the military spend money responsibly instead of just giving them free reign on however much money they want, even though they build extra bombs, they build extra planes, they send uniforms of the wrong color to the wrong soldiers. They waste money through that. Instead of doing that and make them spend money responsibly, we use the money that we bring in by reducing the military budget, and we make education more affordable and healthcare more affordable, either through subsidies, either through universal healthcare, either through subsidies for education, or we build infrastructure. And it's not an infrastructure plan that Donald Trump puts forward, which was basically like, hey, we're going to build roads, but these 5 companies are all going to own them. So no, that's not an infrastructure bill. And don't think it's an infrastructure bill. So what is the plan here? We got rid of a deal, and now everyone's all shocked that Iran's going to start building weapons again. And like, nobody's putting the two together as like, maybe we shouldn't have gotten rid of this deal, because according to the IAEA and the UN, which people on the right believe the UN when they say, other things, but with this, they always question them. I forgot what I was saying. Gosh darn it, this happens all the time. So, like, what's the game plan? And like, what's her face on the 5? Dana Perino said, "I think it's okay not to know." No, not okay not to know. No, it's not. You're lowering the bar for people who love America so much. They're fine with America not knowing what its own plan is. I mean, Dana Perino was around for the Bush administration, and the Bush administration had no exit strategy. So they didn't know how to leave Iraq because they didn't want to leave Iraq. So I understand where she's coming from. She thinks America's too stupid to figure out an actual decent plan because she doesn't believe in exiting anything except for this Iran deal, and then not doing anything about it, and then acting all surprised and being scared that Iran's going to start building up weapons again. Like, bitch, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck's wrong with these people? Like, we don't want Iran to build weapons or nukes. We're going to pull out of a deal that we had that barred them from doing that, and then we're going to act surprised that they're going to start building up nukes again. Like, what the hell kind of... What? That doesn't... Like, I'm going to keep punching you in the face, and then when you wind back to hit me back, I'm going to be like, why are you hitting me? Like, that literally doesn't make any sense. Like, this is ridiculous. This nice BBC article goes on to explain a lot of other different things about what the Iran deal was able to do, and like the sanctions and all these other different things. I think here's where it says that until 2031, Iran will have 24 days to comply with any IAEA access request. If it refuses, an 8-member joint commission, including Iran, will rule on the issue. It can decide on punitive steps, including the reimposition of sanctions. A majority vote by the committee suffices. So they have 24 days to self-inspect, but at the end of 24 days, the IAEA can go in whenever. So, like this is a nice article that explains everything, and it's by the BBC. You can find it. It was posted on May 8th. So, what happened after this? Well, Israel fired into Syria, hitting Iranian forces, and then Iran and Syria responded by hitting the Golan Heights. So this is not good because Israel, we're allies with Israel. And if Israel calls on us, because technically they could, Iran and Syria fired on them. I mean, I guess declarations of war don't really mean anything when you declare a war on an ideology and an idea of terrorism. So I guess declarations of war don't mean anything. But back in the day, Israel attacked Iran and Syria, meaning Israel would have declared war on Iran and Syria. Iran and Syria responded now, meaning that they're at war. But it's the 21st century, and so people just do one-time only attacks, and there's not really a war. It's like an idea of a war. It's not like boots on the ground all the time. So, however, Israel could call on us, and what are we going to do if they call on us? I mean, we already have drone strikes or drones in Syria, so we could use that, I guess. But with like people like John Bolton, like they're waiting for Israel to call on us so that John Bolton can get in the ear of the president and go, Mr. President, we need to attack Iran because Israel told us to. Like, that's what he's waiting for. And if you think otherwise, like, you're not thinking at all, because this has been like a thing since 9/11 that like these people have wanted. So the Israel strikes Iranian targets in Syria in response to rocket fire. Israel says it struck almost all of Iran's military infrastructure inside Syria in its biggest assault since the start of the civil war there. Strikes come after 20 rockets were fired at Israel military police positions in the occupied Golan Heights overnight. Syria's military said the Israeli aggression had killed 3 people. There was no immediate comment from Iran, whose deployment of troops to Syria to help President Bashar al-Assad has alarmed Israel. Iran has repeatedly called for the end of the existence of the Jewish state. Israel's military had been anticipating an attack by Iranian forces after reportedly carrying out a number of strikes on their facilities in Syria in recent months. They included one on an airbase in April that killed 7 Iranian troops. Now, also, so here's where it happened. So they fired into Syria, so probably anywhere from here. And then Syria probably fired back, or Syria and Iran fired back over here, probably around this area. So the Middle East is ramping up. There's more activity. There's probably going to be another war in the Middle East. Now, the GOP is in an interesting bind when you look at it, because everybody knows that when you start a war, approval ratings go up because they have to. So the GOP could get a boost in the in the ratings if they do decide to go to war or attack maybe Iran in Syria, or Syria itself again, or to under the guise of trying to defend Israel, but Israel doesn't need defending because they're the one who attacked. So that's not how that works. Anyways, so the question is, would the GOP do that to get their people voted into office? And if you would ask me this question 8 months ago, I would have said, no, I don't think they would. But in that 8 months, Trump has moved Mike Pompeo up. John Bolton has entered the administration. It's more likely that the GOP would attack or start a war or start an attack of some kind to get a boost in the approval ratings. And that's not that far-fetched of an idea. And there were only 2 predictions I had when Trump became president. And it's not because of Trump himself. It's because he pushes disgusting, wrong, hurtful, right-wing policies. And those 2 predictions were the economy would crash in 4 to 6 years since his inauguration, and that we would be in war in another country by the midterm presidential election. And we've gotten close multiple times to one of those becoming true, and this is possibly as close as we've gotten with this. So that's interesting. So to close up on these two things, because they happen so close together, back on the Iran deal, the government of Iran is not the same as the people of Iran. There are a lot of young people who have talked to news outlets and reporters, and there is video footage of all these different things happening, who are more secular, who are more center on the political compass, who don't have any harsh feelings against Iran because they didn't live in the late 50s to late 70s. That's their parents' time or their grandparents' time. And so those people don't like America. And so we have to be careful to separate the government of Iran, the theocratic right-wing government of Iran, with the more center, pacifist, secular people of Iran. They don't necessarily show it. I mean, they show it in weird ways. There's in Iran, there's multiple different Western knockoffs of fast food. Now you're wondering, what the fuck does that have to do with anything about Iran nuclear weapons and big, foreign policy decisions? The people of Iran have obviously managed to get fast food knockoffs of McDonald's, KFC, and others. If the people of Iran hated us so much, they wouldn't have done that. There is a group of people who push for these kind of things, who make impersonation knockoffs of these things because they don't hate the West as much. So there has to be that distinction. And so we have to be careful on what we do here next, because it's going to shape foreign policy actions on everybody at the table right now for the next 10, 15 years at minimum. So we have to be careful. We have to be very, very careful on what we do next. Because there has to be something next. We have to go and again, the White House condemns Iranian regime provocation against Israel, even though Israel attacked first. It's not a provocation if they attack second. Israel is the one that did the provocation. That's just a lie. So again, we have to be careful, and as it looks right now, we're with an administration that has no room and does not care to talk about peace deals when it comes to people in the Middle East. Now, the caveat in that is that right-wingers would say is obviously North Korea. And they have some kind of decent argument to make when they say that. North Korea has decided to talk to South Korea, but there is a lot of moving pieces in that. I have no problem giving Trump credit because it boosts his ego on getting peace done in the Korean Peninsula. But in the last 8 years, not only has the United States gotten a new president, which in every other case has been more hawkish, South Korea impeached their old president who was more hawkish, and a grassroots organization got the president of South Korea, who's in there now, who was the peace candidate. So there's a lot of moving pieces when it comes to the Korean Peninsula. South Korea changed from a hawkish position against North Korea to a peace position in North Korea. And Trump is just riding that wave. And the South Korean president may say, thank you, Donald Trump, for your push towards peace in the peninsula. But, and he's doing that, I think, if we can get into speculation as well, for a good reason. Whether you like it or not, the Iran deal was a deal, obviously. The United States previous president made a deal with Iran and they agreed to it. The next president came in and said, no, never mind. That could show North Korea, hey, listen, first of all, we did a deal with Libya and we still bombed them anyways. So there's that as well. Who is it? Gaddafi in Libya. It was the same thing. He had like chemical weapons or nuclear weapons. The United States went in. We got them out. We still bombed them anyways. So we did a deal with Iran and we just pulled out of it, not less than 3 years after its implementation. North Korea could view that as, I could make a deal with the United States right now, but that's not going to stop them from A, pulling out of the deal, or B, bombing me anyways, based on the past. So, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders said this yesterday at the press briefing. I don't know, it was like, President Trump is wholeheartedly behind his commitment to pull out of the Iran deal, and our goal for this it hasn't changed our goal for the North Korean peace talks because we the Trump administration still believe that full denuclearization is the prime goal and the only goal for North Korea. When the peace talks start, the South Korean president gave Trump this win because it fulfilled his ego, and he's wanting him not to do anything at these peace talks. That's my theory. Because if the Trump administration goes in with the idea that they will be able to get full denuclearization out of this deal, and North Korea says no, what's the game plan? That's why the South Korean president needs to go to these talks or be around or get in Trump's ear at some point, because you cannot go into a deal with a foreign power and expect that, because we do the absolute most extreme thing we could do to them, which is full denuclearization, and with that probably checks at any point, no questions asked. Okay. If anybody did that to us, we would have blown them up last week. So it's obviously a double standard, but the peace talks need to go something like this. And it's amazing that the peace talk position that the Trump administration would take is full denuclearization, because if North Korea comes to them and says, we're going to lower our centrifuge count, we're going to close down a plant, and we're going to give the IAEA checks on certain locations that they can check. The Trump people would say no to that, but it's a progress towards denuclearization. You don't get everything. A good compromise is one where everybody walks away angry. That's a good compromise. Or like angry in the sense that you didn't think it was enough or whatever. So that's where that needs to be. But so while the Trump people can do a lap if they want and do victory celebrations for Trump helping, or even some say Trump is the reason for peace talks in the Korean Peninsula, they can take that lap all they want. But if they don't realize that the Trump administration is going in with an unrealistic goal, and they're going to get disappointed with any concessions North Korea makes, unless it's full denuclearization, which North Korea most likely won't do, we're back to where we were. Trump may leave, Trump may get out, Trump may put more sanctions on them. That'll get North Korea more upset. South Korea is now stuck in the middle of like, damn it, I have two big-ass children to take care of. So, listen, As long as we get some sort of peace in the Korean Peninsula, I'll give everybody credit. I have no problem with that. My problem is that we have a leader who's so blinded by, we're going to get everything we want, we're going to make no concessions, they're going to make all the concessions because that's what we want. That's not how you bargain. That's not how you compromise. You may not like it, but that's where you start, especially on a big issue, a big idea like Korean peace. The peninsula of Korea getting some form of peace. So that's the caveat with the North Korea thing. So there's a lot to digest there. So we're going to go ahead and move on. Those are all my thoughts. I think that the Iran deal is reckless and completely based on just propaganda and purposeful disinformation and lies and deceit. And North Korea is moving in the right process, in the right way, and everybody is getting credit as of right now. But of course, the Trump administration is going in with unrealistic goals, which they will never meet because North Korea would never allow or give that to the talks. So here's hoping that South Korea can keep doing what it's doing with their president and their idea for a peaceful Korean peninsula. And here's hoping that those talks can go and give and win out. So we're going to move on, and I have 4 stories left. I've been here for almost an hour. My voice, I don't know if you can tell, is getting worse and worse. I need to get something to drink. I don't have anything with me. So these last 4 stories should be quick, sweet, and funny, and to the point, and not some big idea like foreign policy of Iran and the foreign policy and making peace in the Korean Peninsula. They're quick, sweet. The first one's a little ridiculous. So Brian Fisher says Christianity has First Amendment rights and no other religion does. Now, let's go ahead and take a listen to this.
I want to finish up on our conversation about whether Wiccans, that is, worshipers of the devil, followers of witchcraft, whether they have First Amendment rights under our Constitution. And the answer is that they do not. The blunt, simple, direct, straightforward answer is that Wiccans do not have First Amendment rights, nor do Muslims, nor do Jews, nor do Native Americans, nor do Rastafarians, nor do any practitioners of any other religion other than Christianity. Because Joseph, and again, I'm just quoting Joseph's story, so this is not my idea. I didn't come up with this idea. This is Joseph's story, the eminent historian of the First Amendment and the Constitution. Look what the Founding Fathers were driving at here in the First Amendment. They weren't even considering Islam. They weren't even considering Judaism. They weren't even considering Native American religions. All they were dealing with, all they were considering was Christianity. So whatever the First Amendment is about, whatever protections it extends in the federal Constitution, those were just for Christianity. So Christianity has First Amendment rights under the federal Constitution. No other religion does.
So let's go ahead and pull up the First Amendment. Because basically his argument is that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And he said First Amendment. And so either he's just talking about that or he's saying the whole First Amendment, and that includes that all these denominations of religions have no freedom to do freedom of speech, the press, the right of the people to peacefully assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So this person believes that the Founding Fathers were so smart to come up with this idea of a democratic constitutional republic that had these big ideas of cruel and unusual punishment and the belief of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that everyone is equal to form a more perfect union, the freedom of speech, the most perfect country in the world. But they just forgot, if they were so adamant on having just Christianity and Christians have only constitutional rights, they forgot the little caveat of adding into this First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances, comma, and this really only applies to Christians and no other religions. So they were smart enough to envision this country of all these freedoms and rights and the belief of equality and of fighting for a more perfect union and all these big ideas of freedom of speech and freedom to peacefully assemble and protest and the freedom of religion. But they just forgot to add that it only counts for a certain amount of people. Like, what the fuck? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, only Christians have First Amendment rights. If the Founding Fathers were that smart, wouldn't they have just put that in? And the Supreme Court has ruled on this multiple times, and that's just not true. And the Supreme Court is the highest court in the land, and the supreme law of the land, their job is to interpret the Constitution, and they interpreted it as, that's fucking wrong, you idiotic dipshit. Like, all right, fine. The First Amendment only applies to everybody but Christians. I don't actually believe that because, one, I would not be able to have First Amendment rights, and two, it's fucking stupid. It's not equality. It's not protection from people. Like, what is that supposed to even mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So, there's that guy. Don't ever look that guy up. He says other ridiculous things. So we're going to go ahead and go to a funny story that I have here. We're going up to Maryland. Maryland doesn't really do much. Sorry to all the people who are watching from Maryland at some point. Maryland, in quote, deplorables, threaten liberals with armed attack if Trump is impeached. The sign's owner reportedly agreed to change it after a conversation with the sheriff. Okay, cool. But the sign says, well, let's go ahead and read from altnet.org. Maryland residents were disturbed when a billboard appeared on Solomon's Island Road in Calvert County that seems to threaten opponents of Donald Trump with an armed insurrection. Hey, liberals, reads the billboard. Better get your guns if you try to impeach President Trump from all of your deplorables in Calvert County. The Calvert County Sheriff Office has reportedly been flooded with phone calls regarding the sign. I saw this on Twitter, fact-checked it, it happened. So let me go ahead and pull up my Twitter response to it because I think I don't want to mess up my response to it. So basically they're threatening people. You better have your guns ready because we have ours ready and we're going to attack you if you try to impeach Donald Trump. So I saw this and I said, what about free speech? You know, Kanye just went up there and said, you know, all these ridiculous things about, you know, I don't even know what he said because I tuned him out. But Kanye went up there and made a big ruckus, and everybody who there were of course people who were calling him a bunch of unnecessary, awful things. But it turned somehow into a free speech issue, which I'm having a problem with because if you just disagree with somebody, it's not abridging your free speech. But what about free speech in this case? I think President Trump should be impeached. Not me personally. I don't think so. But people do. People in the United States do. So if they do that, they don't have the freedom to say that without the threat of getting shot at, maybe even killed. Right? And then there's a good chance that these people are the same people that said, look at these college kids needing all the safe spaces. They're so dangerous. They riot when people who disagree with them come on. I mean, these college kids just need to grow up and face the real world. So I said, what about not being violent like those dangerous college campus kids? Ben Shapiro comes on and people riot, which is wrong. I think President Trump should be impeached. I think you should probably get shot. Nobody on the college campuses threatened to assassinate anybody who came on. I'm not going to say that. There's probably a couple cases where some loons have threatened to assassinate right-wingers and or left-wingers if they come onto college campuses. That's true. But of the big stories that happened 11 months ago, Ben Shapiro went on, got rioted out for safety reasons. Milo Yiannopoulos got rioted out. I think Ann Coulter also got rioted out at one college campus as well. So, like, what happened to the principle of let people talk without giving action, without threatening them action or inability to give free speech? You don't want to be like those stupid college kids who start destroying things when people come up to their campus with who they disagree with. You don't want to be like those kids who see somebody or hear about somebody coming on who they disagree with, and they start breaking windows and throwing things and dangerous and rioting. What's the difference? And I finished off my tweet by saying, "Oh wait, you deplorables aren't fucking smart or principled on anything, because they're not. They don't connect the dots. They don't see that. They don't view that as the same thing." So there's that. So let's also so those two were just funny. I have one more funny one and I have one more serious one. Let's go ahead and get into the serious one for now. Mitch McConnell bends the rules again to confirm Trump's judges. Okay. Now, there will be people that say that the Senate they have the right to do this because of reasons of, like, the Senate and the Supreme Court don't really need to run on tradition. So let's go ahead and just get into this article. When the Senate votes this week to confirm Michael Brennan to be a lifetime judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit, it will be voting on a nominee who never should have made it to the Senate floor. Oh, interesting. Why? That's because Senator Tammy Baldwin, a Democrat from Wisconsin, was denied the ability to stop him. When President Trump nominated Brennan to the court based in Baldwin State, she should have had the right, per long-standing Senate tradition, to deny or advance his nomination in the Judiciary Committee. But when she announced she would not be turning in a so-called blue slip for Brennan, literally a blue piece of paper that signals a senator's support for a home state nominee, the chairman, Senator Chuck Grassley, a Republican from Iowa, ignored her and gave Brennan a hearing anyway, then voted his nomination out of committee. The blue slip rule is a tradition as opposed to a hard Senate rule, although the Senate largely functions by tradition. On Tuesday, Baldwin urged senators to oppose Brennan and decried Republican leaders bending the rules to push him through. This is Brennan talking, I believe. Today, respect for the time-honored blue slip comes to an end, she said on the Senate floor. I urge my colleagues to recognize that while today's actions disrespect my role as the junior senator from Wisconsin, tomorrow it may well be you. Grassley had the blessing... Where are we? Grassley had the blessing of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, a Republican from Kentucky, when he bypassed Baldwin. The GOP leader had been watering down the role of blue slips since Trump became president. He argued that no single senator should have the power to hold a circuit court nomination. My view is that no one senator outright we ought to be able to stop a circuit judge, McConnell said Thursday to conservative radio show host Hugh Hewitt. It's one of the most glaring double standards playing out in the Senate today. Never mind that McConnell's greatest legacy is single-handedly denying President Barack Obama a hearing on a Supreme Court pick. Pause. That is the most glaring, double-standard, hypocritical thing bitch-ass McConnell has ever done in his 50,000 years in the Senate. One senator stopped a Supreme Court judge. It was him, and he had no problem doing it. He had no problem leading the charge on stopping Barack Obama nominating a Supreme Court pick, which was totally done in president's last terms. I think The first Roosevelt got one through. I think Reagan got a few through. I think HW got a few through. I have a graph. I could find it. I could pull it up. And in fact, I will while I go on this rant. One senator, Mitch McConnell, delayed the didn't even give a hearing to to President Obama's Supreme Court pick, right? And here we go. The idea that it's never been done in a president's last term, this close to an election, the people will vote, they'll decide, they'll get a new president, then we'll move forward with a Supreme Court pick. Fucking false. Taft nominated one. Confirmed. Wilson nominated one. Confirmed. Hoover nominated one. Confirmed. FDR nominated one. Confirmed. Here is where Scalia died, 268 days away from an election. Here's all the people who got one closer than that. LBJ got 2. Nixon got 2. Ford got 1. Reagan got 1. It was a lie. It was a sham. It was bullshit. Presidents before Obama got Supreme Court picks and got them confirmed in the last year of their presidency. It's because the hatred and the vitriol towards President Obama is the worst I've ever seen. They blatantly lie about everything that man had ever done. Obama's not a Christian, he's a Muslim. Obama's not even born here. Obama funded ISIS and is the creator of ISIS. That's a quote from Donald Trump. Obama has death panels in Obamacare, quote by Sarah Palin, and pushed by other major Republican leaders. The Tea Party taking like paper, like what are they, like Obama's body, like it's like a paper mache, but that's not the right word. It's like Obama's body out of like plastic or whatever, or like mache, and having it on a noose lit on fire in front of a church. That is a famous picture around the internet. You could pull it up wherever you want. And I'll pull it up right now. It's literally right there. That's what people did. They questioned how American he was. They questioned whether or not he was born here. They lied about giving him a Supreme Court seat. The vitriol, the hatred for this person who is demonstrably, factually, politics aside, a better human being than Donald Trump would ever have been, ever. He could be a Hindu believing in reincarnation, get as many lives as he would want to, as many do-overs as he could, and Barack Obama would be a better person than him. Every single time, hands down, no questions asked, putting politics aside, because Obama's policies were shit. And Donald Trump has the same policies, so there's no difference between them. But they lied about everything he did. They lied about everything he didn't do. There was nothing that they lied about. The balls on Mitch McConnell to come out and bend the rules again. But we're not done yet. Let's get back. Let me show you this picture one more time. And then let's get back to the article. McConnell, never mind that McConnell's greatest legacy is single-handedly denying President Barack Obama a hearing on his Supreme Court pick. Another pause. It'd be different if you gave them a hearing and then just voted no. This entire conversation would be completely different. But they didn't do that because the hatred and the vitriol for someone is just out of this world with them and Obama. People like Greg Gutfeld and Jesse Waters, they hate Obama just simply because he exists. And, like, it's amazing. I've never seen such vitriol and anger towards somebody than Republicans do Obama. Continuing, GOP senators routinely abused blue slips to block Obama court picks to the point of absurdity. Point of absurdity is all underlined with cases of which they did this. Now that a Republican is in the White House, McConnell wants to prevent Democrats from using the same tool. The reason blue slips exist at all is to inject bipartisanship into the judicial confirmation process. Democrats upheld the rule throughout Obama's presidency, but the tradition is unraveling as McConnell focuses on his broader goal while Trump is president, to confirm as many young and conservative justices as possible. This is my top priority in the Senate, McConnell told Hewitt, by appointing and confirming the strict constructionists to the courts who are in their late 40s or early 50s. I believe we're making a generational change in the country. He's right. Trump has been nominating judges at record-breaking levels, and the majority of them have records of being anti-LGBTQ, anti-abortion, or anti-voting. Nearly all young, white, and male. Since these are lifetime gigs, the court rulings will affect millions of Americans for decades after Trump has left the White House. Baldwin's anger over Brennan's vote isn't limited to the way he got to the Senate floor. His nomination is a result of a mangled partisan process that has plagued this empty circuit court seat for years. Wisconsin's other senator, Republican Ron Johnson, single-handedly blocked Obama from filling this vacancy for more than 6 years. Johnson did that, wait for it, by turning in a blue slip. Beyond that, when the Trump administration first nominated Brennan, a 57-year-old Milwaukee lawmaker, Baldwin said it did so without meaningful consultation, with her. It also broke with precedent by not getting the required support from Wisconsin Judicial Nominating Commission. So, another double standard for Republicans and Democrats. Another hypocritical thing by McConnell, but I'm still waiting on a vote for DACA that McConnell was going to push through. And every Democrat went and bit the and went and got the bait. McConnell said he'd push for a vote. He never did. The government shutdown was for absolutely nothing. The only thing that they got out of it, which Democratic hardliners would consider a win, is that there would be a vote based on nothing but McConnell's word. Based on nothing but his word and his promises. I'm still waiting for that vote. That vote never came up. It was supposed to happen, I think, in early April. So I'm still waiting for that. But Democrats are centrist, center-right corporatist, just almost right-wingers. A majority of them are center-right, right-wing corporatists. And, like, this is just mind-boggling that this goes, A, unreported, and B, like, it's fine. Like, it's okay. Like, obviously this would happen. Right-wingers watching this right now are like, why is he so upset? That's fine. That's supposed to happen. In fact, I want that to happen. Like, the other hypocrisy is the guy from New York, the Attorney General from New York, who just resigned. Now, a lot of people aren't going to like this, but he resigned because he threatened women, he choked women. Good on him. Go away. We don't need you. Nobody likes you. You're a horrible human being. I'm glad he resigned. He resigns in shame, and nobody will ever talk to him again because he's a scumbag. However, the caveat to all of this is when Trump, of course, divorced his second wife after he cheated on her, but the evangelicals still vote for this godly man for some fucking reason. Ivanka, I always get them confused. Ivanka's the second wife, right? Melania's the third wife, and Ivana, or is it Ivan? Ivanka's the daughter. Fuck. Okay, so then Ivanka's the daughter, so Ivana was the second wife. Ivana said under oath in a judge hearing of some kind, or it was said under oath when she was getting divorced. She told a story about how Trump was going to get something done for a bald spot, and it didn't work. So Melania recommended this place or this surgery or whatever, and when it didn't work, Trump got upset, choked her, threw her down on the bed, and I believe raped her. Now, that's worse than what the New York Attorney General did, because he never raped. He spit. He did grotesque, inhumane, awful, scumbag, douchebag, go rotten hell type of things as well. He spit, he choked, he hit, but he never raped. Rape was never something that came up. All the women that the Attorney General, there were 3 of them, I believe, they all told close friends at the time. So there's a second person to corroborate this story, and a lot of people said that that's the nail in the coffin. That's what got him in trouble. I mean, that helped get him in trouble. Ivana told a friend of hers at the time as well. So Trump did everything that the New York Attorney General person did, and also raped her, but he got promoted for it. He's president now. The Attorney General rightfully resigned in shame, but Trump ran for president and won. So this story about the blue slip and McConnell changing the rules because a Republican is president is a double standard. The sexual abuse allegations are also a double standard. And I like this tweet I saw, and I think I retweeted it or favorited it or something. Democrats go, you're a sexual abuser. You're a sexual abuser and you treat women horribly. Get out. We don't need you in the Democratic Party. Republicans go, oh, you're a sexual abuser? Welcome to the Republican Party. It was funnier and more witty on Twitter, but that's basically the gist of it. I mean, with people like Roy Moore and Donald Trump himself, I mean, all of them have probably women that they have slept with and affairs, and I'm not denying that, but what I am going to fight people on is what happens after that's been revealed. Republicans either try to run for a more powerful position. In the case of Roy Moore in the Senate, he lost, thankfully, but Al Franken and this Attorney General all resign in shame, but Republicans either try to run and lose or try to run and win. Even though the sexual allegations they don't mind anyone. Nobody cares about them when it's a Republican. Like, who cares? So those are 2 very interesting double standards. I want to see what the rest of this article has to say, so let's go ahead and continue to read it, because I think it's very great. So Trump chose to move forward in a partisan manner, Baldwin said Tuesday. Today, we send the message that neither this nor a future president needs to respect the role of home state senators in the selection of judicial nominees. Brennan's confirmation vote will be the second time this year that McConnell is bucking blue slips to confirm a judge. In January, he held a confirmation vote for now U.S. Circuit Court Judge David Strass of Minnesota. Then Senator Al Franken did not turn in a blue slip for Strass, but Grassley gave him a hearing anyway and sent his nomination to the Senate floor. So, another example of it, and of course we have 3 examples of when McConnell used it, and the senator from Minnesota used it for 6 years against Obama. Republican Ron Johnson single-handedly blocked Obama from filling this vacancy for more than 6 years. Johnson did that by, wait for it, not turning in a blue slip. I mean, it's just remarkable that these assholes, not her, she's fine, but these assholes can get away with pushing such bullshit and get away with consequence-free hypocrisy, McConnell will win again if he decides to run. No punishment. The news isn't reporting on this. I mean, granted, there's a lot of other bigger stories, but this is also important. Consequence-free hypocrisy. No questions asked. This is fine. This is normal. No, it's fucking not, you assholes. This is not normal, and this is nothing but hypocritical from the Republican Party, and it lays out, again, more double standards. Republicans will get away with these things, and Democrats and liberals and left-leaning people will suffer consequences. Unbelievable. So let's go ahead and end this with something hilarious that I found. So Think Progress is reporting that the morning after news broke that President's personal attorney, Michael Cohen, received $500,000 in payments from a Russian oligarch following the 2016 president, Trump lashed out at, quote, the fake news. That's, like, normal now. Like, obviously. The fake news is working overtime, the president wrote in the first tweet he posted on Wednesday. Just reported that despite the tremendous success we are having with the economy and all things else, 91% of the news networks about me is negative, fake, in parentheses. Why do we work so hard in working with the media when it's corrupt? Take away credentials? Wow. So, again, let's get to the big part of this, the important, the more pressing issue of this. Trump is back at it again, questioning the First Amendment. He's not doing anything about it, granted. He's not pushing for anything. He just continuously brings that up. He threatened to change the libel laws, make it more like England, and I thought that England was falling apart because of how corrupt their laws are. So why would we want to go that way in their laws? He sued Bill Maher over a joke. He sued Jon Stewart over a joke. He's incredibly thin-skinned. A good Republican friend of mine even admits that he's thin-skinned. I mean, what else do we have to say? He sued Bill Maher over a joke. He sued Jon Stewart over a joke. He sued The Onion over satire. He's threatened to change before the presidential election. He threatened to change the libel laws to make it more like England, which made it way easier to sue and win, reducing free speech, by the way. But the funny part about this is that he gave it away. Just reported that despite the tremendous success we are having with the economy and all things else, 91% of the news network about me is negative, fake. Meaning that all negative news about me is fake by definition. That's not how that works. And it's a complete 180 from his previous position on the news networks, literally like 4 years ago. So here's the tweet. He would always say that any positive news about President Obama was fake and any negative news was always correct. He's a pathological liar. He's an idiot. He's weak. He's thin-skinned. He's a narcissistic baboon. I may get sued for calling him a baboon, but I'm willing to take it. He's weak. He's thin-skinned. He can't take it. He can't take it. He can dish it all day long, questioning the authenticity of, sorry, I'm just like all over the place. the authenticity of whether or not someone was an American. But the second someone says, hey, listen, maybe saying, I grab him by the pussy, or I don't even wait, or maybe bombing Syria wasn't the best idea, or that 83% of all the new wealth generated by the tax cuts, 83% of all new wealth generated by the tax cuts went to the 1%, or just simply I don't like him, is not that doesn't qualify it as fake. What's a fake news story is Obama was a Muslim. Obama was born here. That's fake. That is fake. That's nothing but fake. So he just gave it away. Whenever you hear him say fake news, it's negative news. News I don't like because it diminishes my ego and makes me look bad. That's what he means by fake news. Not because it's not true. Not because it's wrong. But because he doesn't like it. Because it's negative about him. He just said it in this tweet. He just said it. Trump could literally shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and his approval rating may go up. More people would vote for him in 2020. Like, there's nothing this man could say or do, for that matter. The one thing that he has done that I've seen my conservative friends say, I don't like this. It's one, said it cost him his vote in 2020, was doing the tariffs on China. That's the one thing that I've seen a negative impact on my group of conservative friends and family members. That's the one thing that has hurt him from conservatives I've known. All the other lies, I'm going to repeal and replace Obamacare. Okay, I'm going to repeal Obamacare. Okay, I'm going to dismantle as much as possible, but it's still really there, but it's okay. He's a war hero because he was captured. I like my war heroes not captured. We got to bomb them and their families. We have to default on the debt. We have to default on the debt, which would crash the world economy for years. They're sending their rapists, their killers, their drug dealers, but some, I assume, they maybe are good people. I'm not even sure. I never quit. No. I never, what is it when you receive money from a lawsuit? I never settle. It's one of the first videos I did. A conservative friend of mine said, that makes sense, and I agree with you. Because I showed a clip of him saying, I never settle. And then he settled for Trump University. He's a pathological liar. I never settle in lawsuits because it makes you look weak, and I always win, believe me. Breaking news, Trump has settled his lawsuit for Trump University for $25 million. He has settled. He's a liar. I mean, this man could do... What else could he do to get people to go, you know what? I'm an idiot, but at least I'm principled. He's wrong for saying this. He's wrong for this. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. This man is going to get away with everything in the world. And it's never going to change a thing. It's never going to mean a thing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We have a rampaging, unbalanced, unquestionable administration for the next 2 years. And that's not good for anybody. It's not good for anybody. This administration will get away with consequence-free hypocrisy for as long as it's in office. And that's not good for anybody. So, thank you guys for watching this May 10th edition of the Political Jargon Show. We got to keep fighting. Midterms are coming up for 2018. Find a progressive candidate. Get people out there. There was a showing out there. Justice Democrats. I'll put the link in the description for Justice Democrats. Our Revolution, Brand New Congress. There's a whole bunch of different organizations out there that are pushing candidates, and you can find progressive candidates, and they're out there. You just got to vote for them. We've had Justice Democrats had a win in one of the 4 states that had an election earlier. I think it was in Ohio. Yeah. So 2018, you got to get out and vote. You got to get out and don't listen to people like Tom Perez and other mainstream Democrats and say, just vote Democrat up and down the line. No, use your morals, use your conscience. If you don't like the Democratic candidate, don't vote for the Democratic candidate just because he's a Democrat. They don't have your vote just because you're a Democrat. They have to earn your vote. Hillary Clinton didn't earn people's votes. So keep fighting. Point out the hypocrisies. It's got to wear down on these people at some point. Just the basic hypocrisies and the basic, just the basic not giving a fuck about America and not giving a fuck about the precedent and not giving a fuck about what happened in the past and the not giving a fuck about dismantling things and ideas and the beginning of a road to peace, or just dismantling all the procedures that we've had before and used for decades. That's got to wear down on these people at some point. So keep fighting. Keep being together. Keep being united. Keep working. Fight back. Point this out. It'll wear down. Stay in solidarity with each other. This has been the May 10th edition of the Political Jargon Show with me, Eddie Quintana. Keep fighting in solidarity. I'll see you guys in the next one with more breaking news. Just keep going. It'll wear down on these people at some point.